Hi and welcome to Culture Unraveled. My name is Jacob Cheriyan and I'm a speaker and trainer with Ravi Zacharias International Ministry here in India. And I am with Joshua George, who is a faculty at SciAx, which is the South Asia Institute for Advanced Christian Studies. Josh, you want to just introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, I'm part of the pastoral theology department here. I teach critical thinking and a lot of contemporary pastoral issues. And one of the things we do when the new students come, it's the first module that they learn how to, they get a lot of information. All our lives we've been fed with a lot of information from culture, through videos, through WhatsApp forwards, through movies. And so one of the things that I kind of try to work with them is how do we critically think through those cultural issues, how do we critically think any sort of information that comes to you. But in addition to that, as you are well aware that I love movies, I love binging on Netflix, and so that's our common interest.
That's right, and that's something that we keep doing often, and for ours on the phone, so we thought might as well do it on a camera.
Video camera.
On a video camera, and but that is the basic premise of what we want to do. We believe that culture is always speaking to us and always has these themes, very deep-rooted themes that are embedded in it, whether it's movies or music or social media trends, novels. These themes are always out there. And I guess what we want to do in these series of videos is to see how do we engage with these themes, how do we look at these themes, how do we unpack whether it's hope or joy or love or faith or God. What is the series trying to say about these themes and how do we engage with it? So let's get right into it. Today we are looking at the Queen's Gambit, and that's why the setup here. Josh, you want to just tell us a summary of...
So Queen's Gambit, for the record, it was my recommendation to you. So it's a show about this girl called Beth Harmon, whose mother dies at a very young age. She's a single mother. She's been put in an orphanage. And in the orphanage, two things happen to her. One thing is she's introduced to chess by the janitor who teaches her, and from there it shows the rise. She becomes a chess prodigy and her rise into the world of chess. But in the orphanage, she's also introduced to these tranquilizers or little tablets or drugs that she takes, and it shows then the downfall, in the opposite direction. And so the whole series, it's a limited series, so there's no season 2, unfortunately. So it basically shows how she rises in the world of chess, but also goes down in the world of addiction.
Right. I think that pretty much sums it, and you've been able to say it without mentioning any spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Good job, Josh. Josh, if I could ask you, and I know we've spoken about it, what would you say is one of the most dominant themes that is present in Queen's Gambit?
Yeah. So if you see the trailer, one of the lines that you hear in it is the mother telling the daughter, she's preparing her to live in this world alone. She's a single mother, so she wants to prepare her daughter to live well and strong in this world. And so that's a constant theme that she's having to do. So even being in an orphanage, being alone without any parents, that's the theme that it seems to start off with. But as the whole series goes through, you start to see that at different stages of her life, whether it has to do with helping her with her chess game, or whether it has to do with helping her with her addiction, there are people who start coming to her life. And without them, she could not have been able to move forward in what was required of her to move to the place that she was by the end of the series. And so the big theme I've found is the importance of community, the importance of friendship, relationship. Even the name Queen's Gambit, I did a bit of research on what the game, the move is all about. It's basically how the pawns and the other pieces help the queen take control of the center of the game. So that's the whole thing of the helping and the nature of us, the need we have for relationship and people to survive, and we can't do this alone. We can't live in this world alone.
Right. I would agree with that. I would say that is the dominant theme, the theme of friendship and community, and how that interplays in her life of addiction. And when you look at the entire plot, and when you look at the way in which the plot goes, in the orphanage she befriends Jolene, who in one end introduces her into her addiction, but is later on the one who's able to help her out at a time when nobody else could. You have Mr. Scheibels, who introduces her to the world of chess, the janitor at the orphanage, who introduces her to the world of chess and mentors her, and who stood by her side throughout. And then you have Harry Beltic, who she wins against, and then he comes into her life and she's about to go into a bad binge drinking. And then you have Benny Watts. She loses a big game, and then Benny Watts comes into her life and then is able to help and mentor her through that. And finally, you have Towns. Who's the reporter who comes to her when she's in Russia and helping her out. So
even her adopted mother, even she comes in and helps her restart the world of getting into the chess.
Right. There is an unhealthy relationship, but there's also a huge healthy part that she was able to restart her world of chess. So in one sense, what you see is like almost a divine providence. Like there is people who are coming into her life that is helping her in and through this journey.
So how would you think, from a Christian perspective, as we're trying to discuss this from the Bible, or from a theological perspective, how do we engage with this theme? How would you do it from the place where you're at?
Right. See, one of the things that we very clearly see in the Bible and in Scripture is the way in which the Bible values friendship and prizes friendship. Whether it's David and Jonathan, or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Jesus and his disciples, even his closer circle of disciples, right? Peter, James, and John, the relationship that they share. Paul in his journey and the relationships that he has with Barnabas or with Aquila and Priscilla. So the Bible really values and prizes relationships. So that's one aspect. But on a more theological angle here, one of the things that we see in the Genesis account is that God says, let us make man in our own image, right? And we are made in the image of God. And Jewish theologians and Christian theologians have always battled, what does it mean to be made in the image of God? And one dimension, primarily amplified by Karl Barth, the theologian Karl Barth and Emil Brunner, is that to be made in the image of God is to have deep interpersonal relationship, very intricate, complex relationship with one another. And that is what they say is to be made in the image of God. It's a uniquely human thing to have deep interpersonal relationship.
In fact, it's amazing that you brought up that verse. When you look at that verse in Genesis chapter 1, you can't miss out the pronouns. It says there, verse 26, when God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness. And then he goes on to say, in the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. And so you can't miss out the fact that community, divine community, is creating human community. Right. And so it is, the plurality is so evident in that place. And the fact that our image, the very core of our image, the fact that we were made, is being made in community. And that's why God says, it's not good for man to be alone. Right. Because, it flows from that aspect that he is community and he's making us community
as a community. So that whole aspect of community is right there in the Genesis account. Another thing that we know is the Christian revelation of God is that he is Trinity, right? There is inherent in the being of God is God in relationship. God as a being is in relationships. And so if that is the God that we follow, then how does that aspect of a relationship which is so strong, bound together by cords of love, how does that translate into our lives? Another important angle that the movie brings is the relationship between addiction and community, which you were talking about in your summary. The whole relationship with addiction and community and how that plays out. What are your thoughts on that?
My experience in terms of dealing with any addiction or anything bad really that we call sin in that sense is one of the lies that a person who's going through that always feels is that they are alone, that nobody else is thinking the thoughts that they are thinking, nobody else is doing the things that they are doing. They have to do this by themselves, and it's too shameful. The whole idea of shame. I can't share this with anybody else. Like no one, if anyone knew this about me, what would they think about me? Especially in our society of honor and shame. But many psychologists, many people talk about the idea that the moment when you're dealing with addiction, the moment you bring it out to a trusted person, the moment you in fact someone else shares with you that, I have gone through the same thing, suddenly it just breaks something. It just breaks something and you are able to say, actually, I'm not alone in this. Right. And that's the first step of trying to get out of these things, to be able to realize that there is just the simple truth, that there is somebody else who's going through the same thing, and the knowledge of that just liberates a person and allows them to get out of that addiction. It's a very powerful thing to know and to to help you in that place of addiction community.
Right. Even when you look at the most successful recovery program is the Alcoholics Anonymous program. Right. And the philosophy is completely based on community. People who've gone through this struggle are together sharing that struggle in a community that's safe, in a safe environment, in a safe community where they can share that struggle and then help each other out. And it is the most successful recovery program. It breaks that barrier that we are not alone. Like you were saying, we're not alone. We are in this together and we are here to help each other out. And that, in one sense, that's the way in which God has made us, you know, communities who can help bring each other out. I guess my final question would be this. Especially the time that we are living in now, right, with the pandemic and with the lockdown, what would be some applications of these themes for us right now in our day-to-day lives here?
I think starting personally, I'm an introvert, quite a hardcore introvert in that sense. And what I've realized through this time that even a person like me, I need people. I can't survive in this sort of way just for my own sanity. To talk about things I'm thinking about, to just be with people. And I think the importance of at this particular stage to try and invest in friendships, to have a group, and there's this term called the social bubble where you create a group of where you are with a group of people who you relate with on a normal level, not with masks, where these people are safe and you are able to work with them. I think that idea of investing in a group of people, investing in relationships, investing in friends, video calling people, just talking to them regularly. You may not be able to do it everyone, and that's good. Sometimes you're able to filter out, people who are harmful or people that you may not be able to trust. But a few trusted people who you invest in and just call them up and share with them what you're feeling. And I won't be surprised if they come back and tell you, I'm feeling the very same thing. And that just breaks open so much. And it opens a world to help us and help the other in a very simple way, what comes natural to us, which has been made abnormal in this time. But just investing in that friendship.
I think especially at this time, it's necessary for us to be intentional about our relationship, about the communities that we have, about the friendships that we have, and to focus on it and put that as an important priority. Another aspect to it is the pandemic has seen major rise in addiction. Pornography usage has gone through the roof. Alcohol consumption and alcohol sales have gone up. So because people are there by themselves, they are moving and indulging more deeper into their addiction, getting sucked into that black hole by themselves. So now more than ever is a time to really look at communities, engage with communities and help each other out. All right, so that's all the time that we have today. Thank you all for listening through this whole conversation, and I hope that it has been helpful. Queen's Gambit does bring out these very important themes, and the theme of community is something that we felt we really needed to engage with and look into.